to try and just mix it up a little bit tonight in how we're presenting to you. So the presentation from Ali and Wide Eyed Tours, we're actually just going to have a little bit of a chat about Wide Eyed and what they do and what Ali does. We'll happy to stop for questions along the way, or if you want to save until the end, whatever you like. It's quite casual and easy. And I would like to start, apart from being an award-winning travel company, what is Wide Eyed all about? Why do you think they're so special, what they do, and why do you like working for them?
That's a lot of questions, but it's good.
Yes. Now you have to throw your voice.
Can everyone hear me okay? Up the back? Yes, good. So we're an Australian-based / Vietnamese-based company. We're about to hit 22 years in the industry. So we're a designated management company throughout Southeast Asia. Travis Fennell, who owns Wide Eyed Tours, is originally from Leongatha in Victoria. That name might ring a bell, that area, with our recent mushroom scenario lady. So Trav is originally from Leongatha but has lived in Vietnam for over 25 years. So he started backpacking about 30 years ago and then decided that there was a bit of a market in Australians visiting Vietnam in particular. So he started selling bus tickets to backpackers that were coming through to the country, and then that just grew and grew. So then he started, he was an ex-tour leader for Intrepid Tours. A lot of you would have heard of Intrepid. So he did that for a few years and then decided, met his wife Ha in Vietnam, and they decided to start Wide Eyed Tours and travel. So we have now about 75 staff throughout Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand and Laos, with offices in, or staff in Australia, New Zealand, UK and Canada. So here in Australia we have about 5 sales executives, and our head office is in Hanoi in the north of Vietnam. We also have an office halfway through the country down in Hoi An, and then offices in Cambodia and Thailand as well. Laos is coming back as an up-and-coming part of Southeast Asia. So our team in Vietnam currently look after the Laos bookings. Some people say Laos, some people say Laos because of the S, but we do class it as Laos. So I love the fact that how the company started, and that most of our sales executives are ex-tour leaders themselves, so we are full of knowledge and yours for the taking.
So speaking of being full of knowledge, when we met last time, Ali told me that you actually lived in Hanoi for a while, and you've lived in a few other places.
Yes.
So if you had to pick something about Vietnam, I don't know, that's to do with its history or its culture that you really enjoyed and learned about living there that you might miss and not have while you're here, what sort of stands out? Anything that you can say to a G-rated audience?
Well, you said earlier, no motorbikes, no motorbikes, no motorbikes. There's 101 million people in Vietnam. There are 77 million motorbikes that are registered. So remembering we've got our really remote areas that we probably don't even know how many people are based in. But for me, yes, 9 years living in Vietnam, 7 years in Hanoi, in the capital, and 2 years in Hoi An by the beach. And I'm a foodie, so food for me throughout the country. The people will give you their all. But the food for me, I've travelled, before Vietnam, I lived in the UK for 9 years, so travelled a lot of Europe and the UK. The food for me gets me because it's very different from the north to the middle to the south. So I guess over here, the biggest Vietnamese food you would hear would probably be the banh mi, bang mi, banh mi, people say it different ways, which is quite well known in the middle of the country, even though you can get it throughout the whole country. But that's probably one of my favourite foods. and over there you'll pay about $1.25, and here you pay $18 or whatever it is these days. So the food and the people and the remote areas. So having lived there, I've tried to come home and speak to people like Sarah, and getting you into remote areas that you haven't heard of before. So rather than, even though tonight we're just focusing on Vietnam, rather than Sapa, Halong Bay, Hanoi, Hoi An, Saigon, I'm trying to tell you about all the other remote parts and non-touristy, that will eventually become touristy, parts that you should try and get to see over the next few years.
So do you have a favourite of the places that people might not have heard of or know about? What would be the one or two that spring to mind to say, you know what, you need to go here and this is why?
Yes. Oh, one.
All the time, 2, 3.
A lot of people go to Sapa, to the north, which is about 6 hours north of Hanoi. There's a place about 8 hours north, which is called Ha Giang. It's one of the most beautiful scenic parts of the country. So a little bit harder to get to, but easy enough. Just above Hue, so Hue is in the middle of the country, which a lot of people don't go to as well. It's the old capital of the country. But above that is a place called Phung Na. And Phung Na is where we have a lot of caves that people haven't heard of. And there's 5 or 6 different caves, so really good for any age, starting from young children up to whatever age we deal with. So there's more the adventurous, like you can do zip lining into caves, or you can take a boat through caves. You can even camp in caves.
So the caves are like underground, or we're talking set into cliffs? Or?
Yep, set into cliffs. So the Phung Na cave you do by boat, so you probably all maybe prefer that. That was one of the highlights of my parents' first trip to Vietnam when I was living there. And then you have Son Duc Cave, which is a cave that you can actually camp in for a couple of nights if anyone's interested in camping in caves. No. But Phung Na is a very untouched area. It's part of a national park. It's very beautiful, like there's scenes throughout. It's a bit similar to, now you're going to know this name as well, Ninh, but different to our Ninh. About 3 hours south of Hanoi is a place called Ninh, which is also a national park, which is classed as a mini Halong Bay on land. So the rock formation in Halong Bay comes from the ocean, but the rock formation in Ninh comes from the land. It's actually where the last King Kong movie was filmed, if anyone's into King Kong. So it's where the ladies row you around with their feet for about 2 hours through this. And you honestly,
the round boats?
No, that's in Hoi An, that's the bamboo basket boats. So you're kind of waiting for a dinosaur to appear over the top, or King Kong itself, but it's absolutely stunning. And they're the sort of areas that I'd like people to go and see more, because they're beautiful, very picturesque.
Because when you're planning your itineraries, Vietnam, you probably most would know, it's very long and skinny. It runs a long way from north to south. So when you're talking about the destinations up north that you're liking, even further north of Sapa,
yes,
sometimes it's not always easy to have that on the same itinerary and expect the same conditions if you finish in Saigon. So there's typhoons and there's weather, and it gets a lot colder.
Yes, so the climate is, it's been one of the most interesting things coming back living in Australia. Most people think Southeast Asia and think that you're just in your shorts and t-shirts the whole year round. You're not. So having lived in Hanoi for 7 years, because the north of Vietnam sits on the border of the south of China, so it's cold. So our summertime here in the north of Vietnam is like our winter time. So it's jackets and scarves and shoes and socks and layers for me, because I'm a cold frog. So we're not thinking that at Christmas we're going to go to the north and be on Halong Bay in your bathers or your swimmers and be jumping in the water or anything, because that's not going to happen. In Sapa itself, Sapa sits at about 1,500 metres high, and the highest mountain there is called the Fansipan, which is 3,453 metres high. It snows. So at Christmas time in Sapa, you will get snow. So, if you're looking at travelling over that sort of time, you're better off going to the south of the country. So Vietnam is a year-round destination, but you've just got to pick where you're going. So I like to use our Christmas time because of how cold it is. So the north could be snow, the middle, rainy season. The south, that's where we want to go. Best time all year round is from March to the beginning of October for the whole country.
Yeah. But you'll still be packing slightly different clothing for the north and the south as you're moving. This year's been quite exceptional weather-wise though too, hasn't it?
Yes.
Should we talk about the typhoons?
Well, you've probably seen it on the news, which frustrates us because they exaggerate a lot of things. But yes, this year Vietnam has been hit by a few more typhoons than normal. When we say typhoons, don't get me wrong, I lived there 9 years and I'm still sitting here. It's just a lot of rain and wind, and they prep for it very well. So I think we're about to go into our 12th storm for the year. And can that lead into our on the ground? Yes. So with us, we have 24/7 on the ground agents. So the minute you guys arrive at the airport, we are there with you. So you have WhatsApp numbers for our staff. We are in constant contact with you every day. This is what time you're being picked up tomorrow. This is what time we need to get you to the airport. So if there was a storm approaching, which we always know a few days or even a week in advance, we're moving you around. So if that was happening, we might not be sending you to Halong Bay at that time on the boat. We might be sending you 3 hours south to Nimbin, where the storm's not going to hit. So it's really important to know that 24/7 care is there, and rather than trying to call a phone number in Australia or, oh my God, what do I do? We are in the country, there with you every minute of that. So that's a really important thing for us, is the on-the-ground agents.
It's the one thing that everybody that I've sent travelling with you has talked about when they've come home. I had some clients there, October. They were there in the back half of September, somewhere in the mid to late 20s of September, that they left to go over, and they messaged me the day before. Sarah, there's a typhoon, Vietnam's going to be washed away, you see the 6 o'clock news. I'm like, don't think it's that bad, because I've not heard anything from the girl who's done your booking, and if there was something brewing, she'd let me know, but leave it with me. So that night, I messaged the girls in Vietnam, and Van picked it up straight away, and she's like, yes, Sarah, we know that it's coming. We know now that there's no Halong Bay cruises for these 2 days, but by this day they'll be starting again, is the plan, and that was the day my clients were due to do it. But the clients were still nervous. They'd landed in Hanoi, and it's like, I won't say their names, you need to call the phone number I gave you or WhatsApp them, because they're your people in Vietnam, they're looking after you. And then every communication that my clients got, I got updated as well. So I knew what was going on with them, the clients knew what was going on. They waited it out in Hanoi, and as it turned out, it dropped in ferocity, whatever the word is, it became less ferocious. The cruises opened up a little bit earlier. They went up to, and they started their Halong Bay cruise, but because of operational reasons due to the storm, it was a 2-night instead of a 3-night. So they came back a day earlier because the boat had to dock somewhere different. Your guys were there to pick them up. By the time their boat came back to the dock, they'd already had an extra night's accommodation at the hotel in Hanoi booked. There was a driver at the dock waiting to meet them, and they were taken down, and everything carried on from there smoothly. And then by the time the clients got home, I'd had an email from Wide Eye, and this is one of the things that I really like about how you work. They're like, Sarah, this happened, we did this, this cost this much extra, but we got a refund on that, and then there was the hotel, that balanced out, and we owe you $60 to return to your client. Now, how many businesses that would turn over the quantity of work that you are doing would be say, you know what, $60, let's just keep that for time and effort, you know, their holidays still happened, they got everything that was okay. You gave me back the $60, and it's like, excellent. Thank you for your honesty. It's integrity, it's honesty, it's all of those things.
Well,
which
that's
is,
a lot of beer in Vietnam.
It,
It's like 75 cents a beer. So.
yeah, it is, but that's the sort of communication level that we're working with whenever anything happens, and I just feel that everybody is so safe travelling with you, which is really important.
Thank you.
So we were going to talk a little bit about what you actually do with the tours and the tailoring. Like, what sort of inquiries do you often get? What's popular, and how do you put things together?
Yes. So we're a tailored tour company, so we cater to Sarah's clients' needs, so to you guys. So depending on how much time you have, what you're sort of looking for, whether that's history, culture, whether you're travelling with children or grandchildren, what time of year. So we are yours for, you know, the knowledge of, okay, I've got 2 weeks in June, where should I go? Are you looking for resort style? Are you looking for just 4 to 5 star, which is our main area? And then the rest, you know, do you want relaxing time, so downtime at a resort? Do you want full-on activities? Because there is a lot to see in the country. So I recommend, like, a good trip of seeing Vietnam is a month. That's what I think. When I first went to Vietnam as a backpacker, years and years and years ago, I spent 2 months travelling the country and still didn't think it was enough. The one thing that we do say a lot of people do, we were having this conversation just before, people try and cram it all in like 10 or 12 days, and because they want to tack on 2 or 3 days in Cambodia to go to Siem Reap to see Angkor Wat. Cambodia is a separate country and it is worth its own trip. You can easily do 2 to 3 weeks in Cambodia as well. For those of you who have gone to Thailand and go to the islands and are wanting that sort of beach downtime or resort time, the southern islands in Cambodia are so much nicer than Thailand islands, I can guarantee you that. And they are untouched.
Because they're so less touristed? Because
they're so less touristed. And in the brochure you will see those islands in the section of Cambodia, so Koh Rong and Koh Rong Salom. Those areas down there, like the Kampot pepper fields and the salt fields, so it's all very untouched. So if you're thinking, okay, I'm going to rush through Vietnam, as Sarah was saying, it's a long way, and then have 2 nights in Siem Reap, save it, make it another trip, add that 2 days, I would say, onto Vietnam. But to do Vietnam in 10 days, you're really pushing it. So a lot of people go for a 10-12 day option, so they can put that flight on before and after, so you've got 14 days that you're away. If you can stretch it to 3 weeks, it's a lot. You won't be as tired because there is a lot to see. So I've just had relatives, actually, I've just got back a week and a half ago, but I had my auntie and uncle and 3 other couples, so there was 8 of them, and they just did 28 days Vietnam and absolutely loved it. And that was covering a lot, so you could take out a couple of things, but they did all those places I mentioned before.
Because the most common thing that I would go to Wide-Eye would be, say you've looked through all of the brochures and all the tours over the internet and spoken to all of the friends that have been there and know things, and everybody's given you all different advice, and you can't find the exact thing that you want to do. Say, right, Sarah, I don't want to be cold, I want to do some resort time, I want history. I want to go everywhere where there's something about the Vietnam War, the Second World War, any war that's been fought. I'm a history freak, I love the military history, that's what I want to do. I can give it to these guys and they'll fill a whole week of just that. If you like food, if you like cooked food, and they will fill your itinerary with walking tours that have food tastings, or do cooking classes, or send you to places that they know have a regional difference between the cuisines, so that you're getting to mix it up a bit. If you just want to do this, this and this, then we can just do that, that and that. You can tell me 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, and whatever it is that you want, they put together, and it just works seamlessly. From, like you said, meeting you at the airport, these guys will do your visas for you as well. I'll do your visas, meet you at the airport, and that you are held by the hand for as long as you want from there till the end of the trip, till you take them back to the airport to come home. So that's the type of people that you're looking after and the type of travel that you're planning. Is there, if people were going and you wanted to give them an idea about currency and money, and like the Vietnamese dong when I was there probably had about as much value as a piece of toilet paper. Maybe less.
During COVID?
Before, during and after. During COVID,
I was there during COVID. So.
Maybe that's a whole different story. Yeah. Different value scale, yes.
Yes.
But we certainly told if you had any dong left over at the end of the trip, spend it before you leave, because you can't do anything with it if you bring it home. So
You can give it to me.
what currency are people best to travel with, and how readily available, like your currency passports? You might not have Vietnamese currency on your cash card, but is it easy to just tap and go everywhere at ATMs, or is it still very much a cash economy when you're travelling?
Yeah, so post-COVID, it has got a lot easier to use your card. But for example, the 7 years before that, when I lived there, it was mainly cash everywhere other than in your hotels and resorts.
Yep.
So yes, Vietnamese dong is the currency. There's so many ways you can carry your cash now with Wise. I think there's about 10 different ones.
Yeah.
I must admit, when I go, which is 3 or 4 times a year, I just use my normal debit card at the ATM and take out, become a millionaire and take out 5 million dong, which is about 220 Australian dollars. I know a lot of people when you're travelling carry USD, which is fine. Some hotels will take that, but you don't need to in Vietnam. There's ATMs everywhere.
Yep.
You can pay at restaurants and bars and tourist places. You can pay on your card, but I would always have cash on me, because there's the little ladies and your street food if you want to try something. Believe me, I try every street food in the country, and I'm, as I said, still sitting here. It's a bit different to Thailand street food, but it's always handy to have a bit of cash. You might see someone pushing a trolley in the street, and you might want to buy something off it, and they won't have a machine or anything. But with card payments, it has got a lot easier the last few years.
Cool. That was all the questions I had for you. Did anybody have any questions that they would like to ask Ali while you have her undivided attention? Not a lot?
Come on. Yay.
In case of accidents, what sort of medical facilities are available
Great
in
question.
those areas?
Yes, great question. And it comes back to our 24/7 care as well. So,
Sorry. The question was, if something goes wrong, what sort of medical facilities are there access to? What standard of care?
yeah, no, you're all good. So there are a lot of hospitals throughout the whole country, including international hospitals. So it's very easy to get you to somewhere no matter where you are in the country, and there will always be a Vietnamese speaking guide with you as such. So we're not group departures, we are just tailored. So even if you just went on a day tour, you would have someone with you most of the time. A good example of the 24/7 care and how we get you there. A couple of years ago, our GM, Tracy, who's also one of my good girlfriends, we were in that area called Nimbin. We were staying the night in a homestay, and part of the homestay was in the morning you could sit on a buffalo. Tracy has lived in the country 19 years. She's also from Victoria. So the group we were with are like, oh, we'll sit on it if you girls do. And Tracy said, I've never sat on a buffalo and I've lived here 19 years. It's not the sort of thing you do every day in Vietnam, but you can do it if you want it. She got on this buffalo, 8 o'clock in the morning, so we're three and a bit hours south of Hanoi. About 2 minutes after she was getting on, this herd of sheep, I can still visualise it. This old woman's hitting these sheep, coming past, they come straight past our homestay and go to run in where we've just had breakfast, but then has scared the buffalo, and as we're watching the goats eating the rest of our breakfast as such, Tracy's in the air and then fell down and landed on the concrete and basically broke her wrist. We had just started our day tour but we got her a car and straight back to Hanoi within 2.5 hours. 3 hours and 15 minutes she was ringing us, and we hadn't even got to our destination, and she was having a cup of coffee with a cast on her hand. So that's the sort of care. Not saying that's going to happen to anyone sitting in this room.
I have to ask, why do you want to sit on a buffalo?
Because
Where did that come from?
well, buffaloes, because that's the animal of the country, but also they are very different texture. And some people have fascinations with farmers, like with cows and stuff. And yeah, you can sit on buffalo.
Okay.
I've done it once. That's it. After what happened to Tracy, I'll never do it again. But yes, so that we can easily get you there. But the international hospitals are very good. Years ago, I was in Hoi An, and unfortunately, I got dengue fever from a really bad year of wet weather. And I was in the international hospital for 4 or 5 nights near Hoi An, and it was like being in a hospital here. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Except I didn't have any visitors. I was living in the north, but I was in the middle of the country. Yeah. So it's all the public hospitals and everything will attend to you, and then we can have you move to the international hospitals.
Nice. Any other questions from the floor? Anything at all? Yes.
So if you just want to go to a luxury resort and just do nothing,
Yes.
is it value to money compared to everywhere else?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. So you just need to work out what time of year that would be to where you went, and if that's just beachside resort you're talking about, or like in a city, or
I keep hearing that it's cheap to go. Is that cheap if you just want to eat off the street and stay in cheap accommodation? Like if you're talking 4 or 5 star, is it the same value for money as going somewhere else?
yes, yes, 100%. I find with places like that, because I'm all about history and culture, though, I probably wouldn't go to Vietnam just to stay in a resort for 5 nights. I'd at least want to do something whilst I'm there. But yes, 100% you can just go for, a couple of weeks and stay in a resort or a hotel.
So I think you would get the equivalent in Vietnam as to what you would get in either Sydney or the Gold Coast or Perth or Hamilton Island or somewhere. You'll get much better value for money in the standard that you're getting in Vietnam than what you would get if you went to a resort in Hamilton Island or somewhere in Mexico or the West Coast.
And then remembering, like, if you go outside the resort, your food and drinks and shopping and everything. I haven't even spoken about shopping, ladies. Wow. But yes, everything's a lot cheaper than being anywhere else. Like Bali, Bali prices these days are Australian prices for food and drinks and everything, and it's full of Australians. So yeah, definitely you could do that. I'll just throw in there while I was talking about shopping, because I love my shopping in Vietnam. So I have all my handbags and shoes I've had made there for the last 12 years. Clothes, the tailors in Hoi An, you can have things made within 12 hours. So it's good for your money if you're after a bit of a shop.
When I was there, I had a dress cut and it was all done on the bias and they didn't quite get it right at the tailors. So I went back and it was a bit like, and they go, oh, no good. I said, no good. So they threw me on the back of the motorbike, and I have,
No bikes.
I don't even think I told Mum this one. They put me on the back of a motorbike, and I just went off into farmlands somewhere. I don't know where I went. It was the back of town. It was pitch dark. It was somewhere in the moons, into this little dark house, and I handed the dress over, and she put a tape around me. Sat at the sewing machine, whiz, and gave it back, and I got back on the bike and they took me back to their hotel. I just kept holding my breath and saying, please let me get back safe, please let me get back safe. And it was fine. It was all fine.
I think the first time my mother came to Hoi An, she went home with 10 pairs of shoes. My auntie just had 8 pairs done. So yeah, if you've got a picture of anything, you just take it and they will make
And then
it.
for the shoes, you just put your foot on the piece of paper and they trace around your foot so that everything, the sole starts off the same shape as your foot, so it's going to be.
I think these shoes, sorry, I know everyone can't see them, but I just had these made.
Yeah, I'll lift it up for you.
And they were like $15. But I've got these in a lot of different colours. And years ago, I took her in a design, and then the next time I went, she was advertising them on the shelf, and I was like, no, they're just for me. They're like my design. But yeah, so it's all very cheap.
Nice. Well, I think we've probably waffled on enough. I think, Natalie, we're just about ready to come up and do your thing. So if we must maybe take 5 or 10 minutes if you need a quick bathroom stop or a quick refreshment from the bar or anything like that.